Hi, my name is Brenda Mabel Reid, and I'm a selected artist in the Idea Exchange Gallery's Emerging Artist Show, Show.21. I'm here today in my studio space in the KW Artist Co-op. So it's a shared studio with 8 other artists, and this is my space. Standing in front of my main working area with my cutting mat where I do large projects or cut up my fabrics. I have 2 or 3 projects on the table right now. Behind me is all of my fabric storage and other materials. Over here is my big desk and some of my smaller storage for all my threads and different pieces. And of course my sewing machine, which is actually my late grandma's portable sewing machine that I am lucky to have and work with daily. Over here I have my design wall, which has covered in a flannel, so it actually friction holds other fabrics to it, and so I can move pieces around and juxtapose different projects that I'm working on, so it's always changing. Typically I'm ironing over here, so I'm cutting, ironing, sewing, cutting, ironing, sewing. And then over on this part of the wall I have some of my finished work that's currently not in an exhibition. And so yeah, that's kind of my space. I have 2 works in the show. I have a collection of soft sculptures called Soft Bricks, and I have a brick-themed quilt called A Brick Amiss. So both of these works are pandemic projects to me. There was a period of time where nothing was really happening, and my partner and I were spending a lot of time walking around the neighborhoods. At first we were noticing different housing styles, as we were both from an architecture background, so the sort of things we like to look at. But also, after a while, you've sort of noticed all those things. And so we started to get into finer and finer grain of what we were noticing. At first glance, I think the distinction between the bricks is red or it's yellow. When you look a little more carefully, there are so many different styles, patterns, different minerals that were fired in them, that they're an incredible variety of bricks. And we were these kind of strange people walking around in deserted streets, pointing at people's houses and talking about different patterns and textures of bricks. The soft bricks reconstruct a brick that I printed onto cotton. It has batting in it. They're quite sort of plushy. And then I filled them with black turtle beans, which were also grown in Ontario. So they have this sort of weight to them. They have a sort of reminiscent of a sort of rice heat bag. But when they're reconstructed in this different material, they seem very playful. They seem like toys, and they have these sort of balances. They smush when they are sort of stacked on top of each other. There's so many different things that are possible. A Brick Amiss showcases one brick printed all of the sides onto a single piece of cloth, and I printed it in a way that it almost looks like you could fold up the brick and reassemble it. And I chose to make it a quilt because quilts are artifacts of so much time, labor, and care that typically they're quite important and they have a lot of significance to them. And I liked the sort of juxtaposition of this sort of discarded brick, a brick amiss, if you will, and elevating it to be, on a quilt, to have this status of having a quilt made about it, and talk about the importance of this really simple building material, but also something that we, I think, quite take for granted. Both pieces really point to this basic unit that much of the city that we know of today has been built from. The really humble brick, the brick that many of us don't pay any attention to, might even think, oh, that's really old school, but it's a material that came from the earth, almost for sure it came from southern Ontario, from the different brick pits, and is part of the building today. it was part of the buildings 100 years ago. These bricks have gone through a previous epidemic in this town. In my own sort of personal work, I find that in many ways, I actually see the city as a collaborator, and that the city provides me so much context and grain to reflect on and to bring into my work. I've been working on building a very sort of local practice, one that I am foraging plants in my area, collecting the walnuts on the rail trail, being critical and responsive to the city that's developing and changing around me. It's been a pretty amazing year for me to get to start working in this way. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope that you come out to see the show and you enjoy all the work from the other local and super talented emerging artists.